How's everyone doing today, and welcome back. If you missed last week's race at Canada, go ahead and pop into the playlist and jump in, check that one out. But this week we are headed back towards France for the stripiest boy circuit, Paul Ricard. So let's jump on into the garage and hop in and take a peek at our messages and see what we've got going on for this week's race. So we are going to take a peek. It looks like we have some development failures, so we click down and see that, yes, engine power and weight redistribution is good. The rear downforce upgrade, the refined strike positions, which I went back and looked, and I actually selected the reliability upgrade, the durability upgrade at the top, and for some reason it decided to, well, it attempted to do the downforce one, so that was weird. Something I caught on when I was finishing up this episode. But we take a peek. We're still just almost there, catching the Toro Rossos. Hopefully we are going to have a better showing here at France, as our car is going to be a little bit more on pace. Looks like, according to the weather forecast, we should be dry for the race and qualifying sessions. But let's go ahead and pop on forward and get ready to jump into qualifying.
Welcome to qualifying for this weekend's French Grand Prix. The teams are making their last-minute adjustments before the lights go green and the fight for pole position gets underway. With me is Anthony Davidson. We've spoken at length about qualification in the past, track conditions, the competition, setups and so forth. But really, at the end of the day, it's down to a perfect or near-perfect run with no mistakes.
Indeed, Crofty. After all is said and done, it's down to the individual to deliver the best performance possible. The drivers love it, though. It's their first real pressure of the weekend, so they're super focused and ready to give it everything they've got. It's good to get the competition going.
Right, it's not going to be easy getting into the next qualifying session, but we know you'll give it your all.
Alright, here we are in the garage, and we're going to hop out on track. We go back to back with our fast laps to start off the qualifying session. So we threw in an initial time, and we're going to take the tour as we head down the main straight in our first braking zone, the left-right of turns 1 and 2, and shoot down this next straight. Brake around the 75-meter position, down into 4th, and then down into 3rd and 2nd through this area. It's a very slow weaving section. Very easy, as you saw, to miss that right-hander on the corner there. It's a little tighter on exit than you expect, but on the power early to get down the long straight into the chicane. You get to just kind of settle in. You get to make a lot of your tweaks, adjustments, your radio down that long straight until you hit the braking zone for the chicane, and you see you totally missed that section there. Went understeer a little deep with the worn tires, and we're keeping almost similar pace. Now this is a nice flat out corner that you can absolutely nail, and then the long decreasing radius. You brake early, and then you're really essentially coasting and just climbing down through the gears and letting the arrow slow you down. The decreasing radius corners are kind of a staple here in France. There's a lot of them, so you want to kind of start those corners early, hit the apexes very late, and then we're down into the last slow first gear hairpin where we step on the power and get across the line with a very, very tiny little upgrade there. So we're going to hop ahead onto our 4th flying lap. Again, we're double stinting essentially. Doing the fast laps back to back. We lose a little bit of charge, but we are running on lighter fuel. And there you see we pick up about 0.6 on that one, and we kind of just do our cool down lap, and we find ourselves sitting in 16th, one position off of making it into Q2. So we will be starting near the back of the grid.
Welcome to Le Castellet as we return from across the Atlantic for the 2019 French Grand Prix. Reintroduced to the Formula One calendar just last year after an absence of almost 3 decades. The circuit, Paul Ricard, where racing legends such as Alain Prost gave us some Turn 1 excitement before Valtteri Bottas and Sebastian Vettel and a commanding victory from Lewis Hamilton gave us a brilliant race last year. What, I wonder, will it have in store for us this season? Mastering a lap of Paul Ricard means getting to know 15 corners, 6 left and 9 right, for an overall lap distance of 3.6 miles. The two halves of the long Mistral Straight are separated by a heavy braking zone into a potential overtaking hotspot at the Chicane Nord. And watch out for the drivers running onto the distinctive coloured stripes, which are low in grip and highly abrasive. Anthony Davidson is alongside me as usual for the race today. Let's start with Alfa Romeo. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Gasly, Lucas Faber and Vettel, Verstappen, Magnussen, Raikkonen and Lando Norris, Hülkenberg, Perez, Romain Grosjean and Sainz, Butler, Oldtimer, Daniel Ricciardo and Alexander Albon, Stroll and George Russell ends our grid lineup. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
After the points finish last race, let's aim to keep the momentum going.
That is the idea, Jeff, but as you saw on the grid setup, looks like nobody's taking any penalties this week, so we will be sitting in the same position that we qualified in. We're taking a peek between the tire strategies there. According to our test running in practice, we might be able to make a soft to medium work, but we decided to stick with the mediums to hards just in case. I didn't really want to have it be a situation where we're burning out tires because we really need to make up the positions here. But here we are, lights out, away we go. A decent start. You see Ricciardo getting a great run down into turn 1. We stay to the outside on the braking zones as it gets a little hairy, and we're side by side with Sainz. He taps us a little bit. Looks like we may have caught a front wing against his right rear tire, so we take a peek at our damage report. Seems to be okay, but we can't be too distracted heading into these tight little corners. So we're going to go around the outside, trying to get a position up on Sergio Perez there in the other racing point. We're not quite able to make that move stick as he's got a little better line on the exit on the switchback. And here we are the first time down this long main straight. Butler's got a little bit of a slipstream on us, and he's going to pull alongside us on the outside, but we are going to outbrake him and keep him right behind us as we start pulling tight up on the back of Sergio Perez and Romain Grosjean and trying to get a good run down the second sector of this straight here. We don't quite have the run, so we're going to back out on this corner, not run into Perez too much. We take a look down the inside, but not quite enough. He's a little later on the brakes, and as a result, we understeer and we lose some traction. We have to wait a little longer to get on the power coming out of that last bit of the corner. But luckily, we don't lose the position to Butler. He's not able to really capitalize on it and get down the inside of us. But as we head into this last decreasing radius left-hander and get ready to slow down for the hairpin, I'm trying to get as good of an exit and on the throttle as early as we can to try and make a run on Perez down this front straight. But we ran that whole first lap in that hot lap mode. We used up our allotment, so we didn't get a great exit. Something we kind of missed as far as the ERS management. We could have done better with that. So our good opportunity to have a run down on him wasn't really opportunistic. But no positions gained, none lost. We're going to have a little better run through these corners, but ooh, we step on the throttle a little too hard. Back end steps out on us a bit, and we've lost a ton of speed through that area. It's just a lot of these low-speed corners. If you're not on it, you're a little too aggressive with the throttle, you can really burn it. So Butler's got a good run on us. We're going to go defensive to the inside, into the braking zone, side by side. We're going to leave him the room on the inside of the right-hander. but we're able to get on the throttle and get ahead of him. So that first attack is done. We're dropped to about a second back of Perez. So when we cross the start-finish line this lap and DRS becomes enabled, we are going to be outside of the range. Unless we can make up some time in this first sector, we're not going to be able to have a good run, and that seems to just kind of be the pace of the car right now. We are kind of punching above our weight class, and again, another little touch of the curb upsets the car, and more wear to the rear tires. The more we heat them up, the more we spin them, the less grip they have, and creates more loss of traction and more heat. So it's kind of a vicious cycle that you really have to balance when you're pushing the car. If you overstep it, it causes problems. But we're going to go ahead and jump ahead to lap 7, P14. As Butler now with DRS is going to try and get a run on us. We are going to cover up the inside defensively. He is going to get a little past us on the brakes, but we're able to get past him on the right-hander. And again, the hot tires spinning up, even in 4th gear on the throttle. It makes it kind of tough. You see yellows ahead. There's a slow red dot there, bright red, which means it is one of the Ferraris. So we'll see who it is. Sebastian Vettel, a potential race winner, is out of the session, so that, in theory, should be a pretty free position for us as we go sliding around the corners again. The mediums we just really didn't get super comfortable on. And then we have another George Russell. Our teammate is out of the session, so just like that, in 2 corners, 2 cars drop to a DNF. Only 18 cars left running in this session. Now, Sebastian Vettel's pass was a position up for us. Obviously, Russell was behind us, so we didn't really gain anything from that. But now we've got Devin Butler looming large in our mirrors once again. He takes a little look to the inside of that braking zone. Not enough for him to really do anything. We don't necessarily go defensive, but he doesn't really dive on us. But we're really trying to manage the life of these tires a little bit more.
George is out of the race.
Yes, I noticed, Jeff. I saw that like half a lap ago. But here we go again. Butler looking. We look to move to the inside defensively, but he just sends it way down the inside. He gets by us. Ricciardo has a little bit of a peek. He is side by side with us now as we are tucked up behind Devin Butler. We kind of squeeze him out, and again on the power early and a little bit of a wheel spin. So we are not treating our tires very nice on this high abrasion track. But we have a little bit of a look to the inside into the braking zone of this long right-hander. But again, Devin Butler is able to hold us off. So now we are kind of battling with this group that we were leading. As we come into the last few corners and get ready to start our next lap, our last left-hander before the hairpin. As we dive down, low speed, get the nose pointed down the straight, and get on the power firmly, yet not too aggressively to where we're burning up the tires. So we have DRS down, but it's not quite enough to make the position on Butler. We are right around the outside, but he shoves us wide as we come through that corner. And that gives Ricciardo the chance to pass and get down the inside of us. We were kind of side by side with Devin Butler into that braking zone, and he swung completely wide on the exit and forced us into the runoff for us to avoid the action. And there we go, another bit of action as we have to counter steer to correct the snap oversteer we have there from the wheel spin. But we were kind of losing touch with Devin Butler there. We are running up behind Daniel Ricciardo as we start to settle into a battle with him. You see we go a little late on the braking. We're a little deep. You know, that's definitely a function of the less downforce you get in that dirty air. You have to kind of tweak your braking points when you're following directly behind somebody. You don't have quite the pressure on your front wings. You keep the tires gripped up to the track, so you tend to slide them a little bit more in that dirty air. But through that long righty, Here we are, backed right up onto Ricardo, and we are going to try and catch him and get our position back from him. But meanwhile, we have Carlos Sainz right on our tail as well, as we are in the thick of this train. And Butler's got a bit of a cushion leading it. So here we are down the main straight again. Little bit of wheel spin, nothing too bad, not enough to where we had to back out of it. But we dial up the hot lap, DRS open. We're going to look around the outside of Ricardo. He's a little bit later on the brakes, but we managed to just get by him through that first corner. We are a little slow through turn 2, and he gets a good run up on us as we shoot down into the next braking zone. And Carlos Sainz is now side by side with Daniel Ricciardo, so hopefully they're going to hold each other up a little bit and give me a little bit of breathing room where I don't have to push the car so hard just to hold the position. Maybe give my tires a chance to cool down a little bit, so I have a little bit more to lean on. But you can see there's a pretty big gap now that's open between Butler, myself, and that battle between Sainz and Ricardo really slowed them up through that really slow sector. It's not really a spot you want to go side by side. And you see some yellow flags behind us. It looks like a couple cars have tangled up, Racing Point and a Toro Rosso, but they seem to be moving again, so no DNFs back there. But definitely not what they wanted to do, tangling back there. But you can see Sainz now is pretty well clear of Ricardo and is now chasing us down through this third sector. We've given our tires a little bit of a chance to cool down, so we can hopefully lean on them a little bit more and not spin the tires into these high traction zones where we really have to put a lot of stress on that rear tire. But really it comes down to not slipping and sliding through these next couple corners, which is easy to do if you're not careful. And we want to keep those temperatures in the more optimal range as we continue to battle. And he's really closing up on us now. He is definitely going to have DRS coming down the next straight, and it's going to be most likely quite a challenge to battle. And you see we kind of slide out again. This really had some trouble this race with the traction zones. Just really didn't quite get a feel for the exact power areas, and obviously as the temperatures changed, different levels of traction. Here we go. He brakes down the inside, and then he turns right into us, and we've got wing damage now. We had the inside. We were ahead of him going into the braking zone. He braked a little later than us, but he just went straight to the apex, even though our car was there, and he bashes his front tire on our front wing. So now you can see as we move through this section, we're running a little wide. We're all the way down to third gear when we've usually been in fourth. The lack of front downforce is really hurting, and as we go for this braking zone, out wide, I just didn't have the front end sticking down, and he manages to go down the inside of us as we're really now having to try and feel out how this front end is going to behave with the reduced downforce, as the bang was enough to not only take the end plate off on the right side, but trigger some damage across the entire front wing through the vibrations. But luckily we are in this lap, and we'll jump ahead as we dive into the pit lane. We didn't really lose too much ground throughout the lap to him, but we are going to be needing to make a front wing change as we head in, and we're going to lose kind of touch with him because of that. As you can see, that front end plate on the right there missing as it drives by. Now you can see the team in action, front wing in hand. Hopefully we can get it on nice and cleanly. Seems like a pretty good stop. It was just over 6 seconds, so an extra about 4 seconds of what our team normally takes on a pit stop. Not a bad front wing change, but as you can see, we come out all by our lonesome. No cars really anywhere near us as we hop down the track, and on the hard tires we go. So we jump a full lap ahead up to lap 15. You can see we're about 2.8 seconds behind Ricardo, who was well behind Sainz there. So that change of the wing and the pit stop really cost us. And we're just going to peek, and Stroll is 12.4 seconds behind us. So we've got about 12 laps left to go in this race, but you can see we've got a pretty good gap behind us. It really is going to come down to if we can lean on these hard tires and get some good pace and catch Ricciardo. So there we are, 2.5 through the next. We pick up 0.2 through that first sector. You can just see him ahead down that main straight. And make up about a full second and a half before we're in a DRS range of him. And we're going to hop ahead a few laps. Lap 20.
The next car
Yes,
ahead
it's
is
been a Renault the whole time. And he's still right there, 2.7 seconds. So the gap has stayed pretty much the same throughout this whole stint. We're on lap 21. We've got about 6 laps left to go. Stroll has dropped back to 15.3 seconds behind us. I just wanted to take a peek and see. He's not even on our mini-map at this point. There we go, jumping a little further ahead. 24. He turned in a couple real quick laps. We had a little bit of a slowish one, and he's about 4 seconds up on us now. We had a couple tiny mistakes, nothing crazy. Not like that, where we absolutely just squirreling all over the road. That's definitely not going to help us out. Stroll is still way back there, and we are just chilling in P16. We were running 14th before Sainz got by us and busted our wing up, and we lost another position to Ricciardo in the pits because of that. He pitted that same lap and got through us. And we really just lost a ton of ground to him. We're going to settle in here as we are just trying to turn good laps in as much as we can. We're going to the end of the race, obviously, on the hard tires. It was just a one-stop strategy. There you can see Ricciardo just passing through the foreground as we are continuing to push and run as well as we can to try and catch him and hopefully get a position back. It's been a while since we finished in P16, and P15 just feels a little bit better than that, especially with 2 cars that have DNF'd this race. So we're essentially, only beating 2 cars in the race right now. Here, a nice high shot of that last hairpin as we hop on the power and jump down the front straight across the finish line one more time. Another lap. You see again, Ricciardo just out of vision. We occasionally got glimpses of him down the straights, and really we just kind of been holding that 4 or 5 second ever since those couple mistakes we had. Now you get a great overhead view of this slow first sector. Very technical section of the track, and then as you jump on the throttle, as you really have to nail the angle of that left-hander to stay flat out down the straight and get a good run. I was a big fan of that camera angle during the replay. Just as these overhead views are just lovely to see. There we go, through the chicane again. On the throttle, we'll be... that time we weren't able to really see Ricciardo. He's... nope, can't see him. Through that flat right-hander, a little bit of oversteer as we had to kind of correct and keep the car from stepping out on us as the tires are starting to get worn to the end of their stint. You see the yellow Renault of the Australian Daniel Ricciardo flash ahead of us. And as much as we would have really liked to run that car down, the Renault's still pretty thoroughly leading us on the development chart and has some very good pace. And we had a couple good laps where we reeled him in a bit as we were about to start the final lap. And we are still right there, 5 seconds behind Ricciardo. So let's hop on board and run this car through the final lap of the race. And see what our gap to Stroll is when he crosses line. 15.3 seconds. You see we're used up all of our extra fuel. We were running a lot in the rich fuel mix in the last bit to try and reel him in. We had to kind of dial it back to the lean mix as we were over target. But there you see Lewis Hamilton as the winner and Charles Leclerc as the fastest lap on the last lap of the race there, steals that extra point. Yes, Jeff, I know we have less than a lap of fuel left. That's probably correct because we have less than a lap of the race left. But, you know, it turned out not really the race we wanted.
Okay, gap ahead is
Slow first sector running in the lean mix, and we turned off our ERS deployment after we knew we weren't catching him, as we were starting to get messages from our engineering saying we had wear on the MGU systems, MGU-H, MGU-K, and deploying that energy was causing more wear. So we're hoping to save the component at the end of the race here. We are definitely getting into a phase of the season where we are having to pick and choose what components are being used when.
Let's keep pushing. The gap between you and the
Keep
next car
pushing.
is 6 seconds.
We're out of the last quarter already. What do you want me to do? Make up 6? Is he going to stop? Come on, Jeff.
I can't say that I'm happy with how today went, but I'm sure you gave it your best. Better luck next
If
time.
he had given me that message, you know, a little earlier, I would have given him the absolute shut up Jeff on the radio.
That's it for another Grand Prix and a fantastic win for Mercedes. Talk to me, Ants. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, they certainly stood out as a drive with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes.
Mercedes 1-3 on the podium. Leclerc with that second place and fastest lap is a decent haul of championship points, but Lewis Hamilton once again grows his lead. That Mercedes still leading the development charts and has basically been the class of the field for the entire season so far. I'll have to look back and see race results, but I think they've won pretty much every race this season.
And now let's take a look at the driver's standings. It's a great result for Lewis Hamilton, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
It has to be said, Roman Grosjean certainly had my eye today. He made impressive gains during the race.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. Meanwhile, Renault move up the table with another strong performance this weekend. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time? Be sure to join us again as we continue to bring you the latest excitement in Formula One.
Alright, so we're going to take a peek back in the garage post-race. We're going to go through the rivalry breakdown, obviously with the DNF from George Russell. Huge points gain on him. Alex Albon was behind us, had some issues throughout that race. So we beat him, and he did have a fast lap over us. You see our clean lap percentage only 96, thanks to the lovely tap that Carlos Sainz gave us. But we achieved our team goal, and huge rep decrease. Don't know why that was, but usually when you perform poorly, that's it. But after 8 races here, it is time for our next contract negotiation with the team. So our old contract, expected quality of 18th, expected race of 15th position. The new contract apparently doesn't expect us to perform as well. So we are pumping up our upgrade speed. We are outperforming our contract as it was. So we're just kind of seeing what we can use. And we are well under on the first negotiation. I probably could have pushed for the next pit stop efficiency. I probably should have, but you know, you win some, you lose some. I thought with the poor performance that we had last week, or this week rather, it would have been kind of stretching it. But we're going to go ahead and take our points into the R&D development trees. We are repurchasing that failed rear downforce upgrade, and we're going to take a peek at the front wing end plates. And further reduce our drag. We've got 600 points left, and we are going to go for the durability. Now, it was around this time editing the video that I noticed I picked the durability, and I thought, that's weird. I thought I picked it last week. And so I went and looked at last week's video, and sure enough, I didn't pick that original aero development that failed. I had actually picked the durability upgrade, and for some reason, some bug created in the game that said, no, you're doing your aero upgrade. So hopefully this time it comes through for next week. But unfortunately, a disappointing race at France, not our best result. But we are heading to one of my favorite tracks to drive so far in this game next week, the Red Bull Ring for the Austrian GP. And we'll see if we can have a better performance out there. So I will catch you guys next time. Thank you for joining me. See y'all later.